Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is the Friday session, and this week it's AI. Now, we're going to do this a little bit differently today, just for the pure fact that, well, I'm a trainer. So I always like to start with foundations so we understand this. Feel free to put this on 1.5 if you want to get past it all, that's fine. But I do want us to understand what AI is, what the functionality is, kind of what we may see in the future, things like that. But to get there, we got to kind of understand a little bit of what it is, how it works, what's going on, right? So that's kind of how we're going to handle today. I will talk about some products here and there. So if you do want some things you want to research down the road, by all means, go for it. Do what you got to do. Make that happen. I will be bringing future trainings here very soon and shortly afterwards. Little biteable chunks on things you can try to make Chat GPT, Canva, Midjourney, whatever those tools are, make them work for you. I will be having a lot of little trials, things like that in there, right? So, AI, what is it? Well, first, let's talk about the definition of it. And actually, first, before we even get to that, let's just kind of tell you what we're going to cover today. One, we're going to talk about what AI is, how it came about, things like that. We're also going to talk to you about how it works in real estate, as well as some overview of some basic tools, things like that. Then we'll cover some benefits of that, and then the what's next. How do we get started? Right. We'll tell you a little bit about those in here as well. So again, what is AI? What is that tool? Well, AI stands for artificial intelligence. And I'm going to start off by saying not everything that has an AI name to it probably is really not AI, right? It's a very big catchphrase these days. It is a very big um, component and marketing piece for a lot of tools and products and movements that are going out there and forward. But not everything is an AI, and not everything is that way. Some things are just very complex programs, right? They're just very complicated, very impressive, very useful. There's no devaluing that, but they're not all AI. They're not all there. Now, I'm not going to be naming names and saying that's not AI because this is not about bad mouthing products or doing that, because I think there's a lot of products that are currently named that do fabulous things, but not everything is AI. So, what is AI? Well, AI stands for artificial intelligence. It is a very simple process that goes through some machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing to help us and the computer communicate back and forth, right? That's what it's doing for us. Now, it does it through a lot of very complicated processes, right? Machine learning and deep learning are probably being the two biggest examples of this, right? Deep learning comes is a very systematic program algorithm that comes through and goes through and searches for a lot of data points, try to gather as much data as they can to bring evaluations, analysis through the tool. Machine learning takes that step and continues to try to learn from everything else. So it keeps trying to get better, tries to improve upon itself, right? So I'll give you two quick examples of this so you kind of understand deep learning, machine learning. Both are being used really right now, but like deep learning comes, I will tell you probably the big example you actually know is Deep Blue, right? The IBM big powerhouse computer that actually learned to play chess. And it did it by learning all the moves, learning all the pieces, learning all the different gameplays that came out there, and then started competing against other computers, trying to see how fast it can beat them and things like that. And then started playing against humans. And the first several times it lost, but eventually started winning against grandmasters because it was learning all the maneuvers and it could learn to think essentially what the next best move was and predict farther ahead than probably a human brain could. That's a point of argument and contention. Machine learning takes that same process, but it tries to take other things into effect. Like one of the biggest example you'll hear people use is it will try to teach computers to find all the cats in a picture, right? So it's first got to learn what a cat is and what it looks like and what it is, and then it's got to go through and see if it can keep finding them, and then it will keep evaluating itself, finding out if it actually found all the cats in the picture and things like that. So those are those components. Well, AI, the way we use the conversation today, anyways, is more of a conversation that we are trying to take a natural language communications processing in there, and we're chatting with these tools in the language that we're used to speaking. So instead of having to know very complicated HTML coding, um, uh, I just went C++, whatever those programmings are, without having to know that, me using my natural language can then try to communicate with these tools and learn other things or make other things happen or do other stuff, right? So inside this tool, that is what you will see as artificial intelligence. You got the machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing that comes into place and helps you understand and communicate and do that. So why do I spend all that time telling you all that? Because I'm sure you just heard the Charlie Brown head wah 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 going on around, and I don't blame you for that. But the reason I tell you all that is all that stuff comes into play because we have been using this stuff for years. Just because it's prevalent now, it started late December, early January, because it became public to use. People are starting to talk about it. It's that new hotness, right? It's the new conversation that's in place. And what I want us to be aware of is how we're going to use it today, how we're going to use it in our business today, how that's relevant to us. Well, the first thing I always want you to understand is please understand it's not perfect. It's got to continue to learn. So some of the things we're doing with it today are helping it get better. But the role that it has for us is hopefully a role that helps optimize, makes our stuff more efficient, more economical, more um, more crucial to what we do in our business, right? So it's going to have this effect on us. It's going to have some ability to do this. Now, I'm going to take a quick pause here real quick because I do want you to understand one thing. One of the things anytime I talk about tech, I'm always going to use this phrase tool versus crutch, and I want yourselves to always ask that question. I want you to ask that question because there is no golden ticket to get us out to make the $1 million. There is no easy button that's going to make life just that much easier for us. Everything is going to require us to take is steps. So please always, when you're looking at these tools, and we're going to talk about some of them throughout the rest of the session today, but please understand when you're talking about those tools, I just want you to ask yourself a question. Is this a tool that's going to make your life easier? Or are you looking at this as a crutch to just not have to do things, right? We want tools. We want the ability to move forward, make life a little bit simpler, not stop what we're doing, but we're trying to optimize our business, right? I'm also going to say it today. I want us to look at it like we're using this as an assistant. And that's how I'm going to communicate a lot of the conversation today is let's look at it like it's an assistant. Let's look at it like it's a tool to help something that I'm not good at that we can do over time. So as an example, and this is where I talk about where some of the stuff in the landscape today is going to make this a little bit easier. So a personal example for me is I speak for a living. I do not write for a living. I have other people that will edit my material for me, usually people that are doing it as a favor for me, not as a paid role. Because they look at my stuff saying, Justin, let me edit my stuff. Let me edit your stuff before you send it. And I get it. I just don't look at it. I write it. I send it. I don't think twice about it. That's not a good practice. But now I can have a tool like ChatGPT, which is an AI-based tool, go in and pretend like it's a content writer, and I can give it the context of what I want my newsletter to say, and it will write out the newsletter. It will come through and send those things in place for me, right? It is something that will make my life easier. And I do think that's really kind of where the role currently hopefully sits right now. That it's those things that we don't have time for or we don't have the ability to do right now, or things that we need to optimize in our business that we can let some of these AI tools do for us today. Again, in case you're just coming a little bit late, AI stands for artificial intelligence, but that's kind of where that's at. So, what does that mean for us in real estate? Well, I'll be honest, folks, we've actually had AI around for a while. There are CRM tools that are using it as a text messaging solution that come in there and they'll communicate back and forth with your clients. Now, a little pause. I'm going to take a quick pause for us in real estate. Please, please, please understand you're going to want to evaluate these tools. Most are really pretty good, but please understand they are having conversations and they think they're having conversation with you. So these chat boxes, text boxes are having conversations on your behalf. Evaluate them, test them, play with them, make sure they're not breaking any agency, fair housing conversations. And also understand that as soon as they start asking questions, you are probably formed implicitly an agency relationship with your clients when they were probably only customers in your assumption. So please be careful about that. But we've had it around for a while, right? Again, this is just public. But I do think that you will see in here that we also had other tools in place. Now, again, I think some of these are going to be a little bit of a stretch as far as an AI example, but they're close enough that I feel like I want to talk about them. You have tools that do predictive analytics, right? You have some tools that are going to help predict the future prices of homes. But more specifically, there are tools out there that we have in our arsenal that will help you try to find the next buyer and seller in your community, right? It's taking these data points, it's observing trends in the market, it's doing internet research and saying, oh, by the way, here's what's going on. Now, some of these tools have started implementing AI into them. They did not early on, but now they're starting to, where it's trying to learn on itself. So it doesn't have to, they don't have to keep editing and modifying the triggers. It's in place. But again, some of that's a little bit of a stretch. So you do have some of that in there as well. You're going to start seeing some tools out there that will do virtual tours for you, right? Now, we do have tools like Matterport. That is definitely not an AI tool currently, but it's a very complicated, real nice virtual tour solution. But these tools will be able to start building these things together and put them in place and start building walkarounds and have a voice conversation in your voice talking about the home. And you don't have to, you just got to write it out or just have it out there and we'll talk about it. Right. And then, as I had earlier, there are chat text boxes that are out there already that are in place. Where will it go next? Where will this be in the future? So I think there's endless opportunities here for that conversation or that question. I think when you look at this as a realtor, as a person trying to figure out what we have to pay attention to in the future, I will say this. I will say, I don't know where it's going to go completely, but I can take some logical guesses, right? I can take some guesses in place here that are, I think, fairly logical, right? We have shortages in our industry right now, right? At least as far as I understand, we are not always adequately populated with appraisers in the area. So sometimes you'll see some hybrid appraisals being done, and not because of low inventory, but just in new methods. I think you're going to see AI jump a little bit into that. I also think you will start seeing tools, and you're already starting to see hints of this already a little bit, but you're going to start seeing some tools in place that will essentially redesign the interior of the house for you before you buy the house, right? You get all the pictures online, they can sit there and take out the furniture and put theirs in, right? I think some of that stuff will come into play. I also think you will start seeing a little bit more aggressive predictive analytics tools, right? So not only will it tell you who the next buyers and sellers are, but it will build a marketing campaign knowing the profile of those folks, right? I think you'll start seeing that. Now, That last one I think is a little bit of an interesting example. I'm not going to come in here today and talk about how they're getting that information, privacy, things like that. We're all over the place. We're blasting everything on the internet, stuff like that. There are conversations to be had on a different time about that part of the conversation. But I do see some of that stuff coming into play, and I bet you it comes into play in the next 12 to 18 months. So that's kind of where you're going to see things now. So that's kind of how I think it's going to work in real estate, how it is currently working in real estate, and points from there. But there are tools, and I really haven't talked about them yet. So there are a lot of tools that are already in place. There's a lot of CRMs out there. Again, I'm not today going to get into the place of naming CRMs for that. Um, there are plenty out there that do it. There are some that I have used in the past. There are some that I currently use that do an amazing job of being in there and building chat boxes in there that will work with you. Help some of the CRMs will help build descriptions for your listings, right? That are really pretty powerful that you can do in there. You also have third-party CRMs that are out there already, or not CRMs. You have third-party tools that are out there that are doing data analytics, right? Those predictive analytics tools are bringing big data into the conversation and analyzing that data and doing some predictions of the market. RPR, we pretty much all have access to that, is one of those tools that is actually doing some really neat predictions in there, especially on the commercial side of the world, that I think are very, very fascinating. We now, if I get outside of real estate based tools, we have some of the most common ones we could talk about right now. One would be Chat GPT, probably the most popular hot thing you see. You probably can't run into a blog post or a YouTube video or whatever and not talk about that. And Chat GPT is a neat little conversation tool, AI tool that you can ask questions. It'll spit out answers. You can give a persona to it, like a content creator, and it will write you a 52-week plan and do various things like that, right? It will do that. Like, again, as I hinted at earlier, I come out there and I will write in there my newsletters, right? I say, take on the content creator. Here are the three main points I want to make sure I hit today, and write me a blog or write me a newsletter post, and it puts it out there. It's great. I can also make it be a social media expert and write out my 52 weeks plans of social media, right? We talk to a lot of our fellow trainers, right? And the one thing they tell us all the time, and I say it too, is build that calendar, build that plan so you know what you're doing every day, every month, every year, whatever. Well, that's not always easy, right? Because we don't all naturally think like that. Well, you can put that stuff in ChatGPT. It'll build the calendar out for you. Then you just got to use it. Again, it's your assistant. Go follow it. Go do what you're supposed to do. Now you have it in place. You also have tools like Midjourney. Now, Midjourney is a neat little picture creation tool. It's very neat. It's a very complicated machine learning tool that's in place that you can use natural language to come out there and say, build a picture, photorealistic, of a Victorian style home, family looking at it from the street, and the for sale sign being removed. Something like that. You could put that in there and it will kick out a picture for you, right? That's hugely beneficial for us because there are reasons for that to work for us and make that work. The other one that you can look at and be a part of is Canva. And I think we all should have that to some degree or another. We all do something with Canva to make our life easier. And Canva, late March, early April, came in and added a lot of AI tools in their arsenal. And I would encourage you all very much to jump on and play on those tools. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I named 3 tools out there. They are all essentially free to use. Midjourney is the one that's a little questionable because as soon as they hit max threshold every so often, they turn that part off, and sometimes they turn it back on. But they're all pretty much there. Now, I'm going to tell you, based on copyright rules and things like that, you're probably going to want to pay for them if you use them. That way, you can use the material that's being created there for what you want for your business. I don't recommend paying for them all. That is not what you're here for. And that's not what I'm here to tell you to do. But I would say, find one that you like and pick it. Find the one that works for you in your business and do it. And move forward with that. And we're going to talk about that in step 5 about what's next. But just keep that in mind. I can't hear some of you right now. Why do I want to use AI? I don't even know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's having copyright issues. I don't know any of that stuff. So why do I want to use this tool? Why am I doing this? Well, here's the thing. We only have so many hours in a day. And unless we have a team of 30, some of us just can't do all of this. So it's going to help make us more efficient, right? The tools are going to help us do things better, faster, easier, quicker. It's going to help that. I can't help it. I have it do. Again, I have it write my newsletters. I have it establish my calendar program. We're going to put that here in a little bit. It gives me a lot of my day back. It will help improve our customer service. Again, remember those CRMs that are in place will help keep that. Remember, when we're internet lead generating, we're supposed to respond very quickly, less than 3 minutes. And if you ask most experts, they're going to say less than a minute, right? Well, if we're at a showing appointment, I can't do that. If I'm at a listing appointment, I can't do that. I can't stop my listing appointment and say, hey, wait a second, I got to go do this, right? I got to let it happen. So these tools can help make that a little bit easier. One of the things that you may or may not argue about on this, and I know I'm questioning it a little bit in here, but it's still a point to talk about, is it should help be more accurate predictions, right? It's always learning on itself, so it should always get better with the predictions in here, most likely buyers and sellers, future pricing, things like that. I think there's opportunities for conversation and debate on that one, but I do think it's something that we should talk about. And then if you do use these tools right, it will give us a competitive advantage, right? One of my friends, Marquis Lemons, Raul, she does a great job with this. She has used it efficiently. She's already created lots of extra business from just using these chat tools, these AI tools. It helps them a ton with their business. So don't hesitate to jump in it. Now, how do I get started, right? That's the next logical question. What does that look like in here? So the first thing I'm going to tell you in here is try to find some learning resources, hopefully mine, but there's plenty of folks out there that are doing this for you. There are plenty of folks that are in place playing with this stuff on a daily basis. Two of my favorites right now are Marky Raul Lemons and Jeremiah J-Man Monero. They both do an extremely great job of talking about these conversations. Both of them do, I think, have a live session quite often. So don't hesitate to do that as well. I would say get multiple resources. I have one teaching style, people have the other ones, and I encourage people. And then start playing with some of these tools, right? Go in and look at them. See what they do. See if you understand them. Find the one that communicates and works with you. There's a ton, right? I just mentioned 3. There are more and more, and they are exponentially growing every day. I would say try to pick one. I would lean, if you ask me right now which one I would encourage you to start with, I would encourage with Canva, because Canva is doing what I think most companies will start to do. And that is to start implementing multiple AIs into their single package. So that's the ones I would look at personally. But play with them, see which one they work. And then the bottom line is do something with it. Play with something. Try to create an article. Try to create a newsletter. Try to create a blog post. Try to create a picture. Whatever it may be. See what you can do with it. Play with it. There is nothing wrong with it. But I'm going to more specifically challenge you to do one thing. Give yourself a challenge, right? I did this. Beginning of March, I created a plan for me beginning of April, I created a plan for me. Starting at the end of April, I was going to build 52 videos, some live like this one, and other ones that would be just training videos. And I wanted it to lay out my structure for me, which topics I was talking, what day, when, how, and how, where at, what format, whatever. And it gave me the plan. right? So I'm following it. I'm following it verbatim. We're going to test it out for a year and see how it works. And I'll give you the results back at the end of the year. But I got 52 videos by the end by the end of April, or by the end of April, all the way to the end of the year, that I got to create it. So create yourself a challenge. Do something. I don't know if you need to be quite that aggressive with this, but make sure you have something in place, because it is something you want to do with your videos, or with your videos. That's the next topic I'm working on next, with your AI. Maybe it's going to Canva and creating 10 blog posts or whatever, right? Maybe it's creating your listing packet, right? There's a lot of things you can do with this. So take that and make it a challenge. I do appreciate you all being here. Thank you. Those were the 5 things we talked about. What AI is, what does it do in real estate, kind of overview of some AI tools, as well as how does it benefit us in real estate, as well as those next steps to get started. Now, again, folks, I will come back in future sessions and make sure we come through and do exact steps or things in there, so you can kind of see it and look at it and make that work for you. In the meantime, if you could, please do me a favor. If you ever do have questions, please email me, jbletheby@thejblteam.com. That is by far the easiest way to get a hold of me. But please, I'm always happy to answer any questions I can for you. If it's AI, put that in the subject line. It'll help me notate those, especially since we just talked about that conversation. Also, please like and subscribe at any platform you're listening to, because this is broadcasted out of multiple locations simultaneously. It's on a podcast. It's on YouTube right now, as well as my Facebook page. So please don't hesitate to like that. Also, encourage other people. Share this with folks. Get them to try to help find me. My goal this year is to grow the audience quite large. We all have goals. That is mine. I want to add value to you all, and hopefully that will help add value to more and more people every day. So thanks, everybody, for being here. I will see you next Friday at 1, and we'll see you then.